right, race fans, I'm Ryan Aho. That is the one and only Bert Lehman, bringing you episode 113 of the One to Go Show. Of course, brought to you, Bert, by our friends over at Dirt Track Supply, Watertown, South Dakota. The baddest bull ring in South Dakota is the Casino Speedway. They're there every single week, along with many other tracks. So they service all the tracks over there. If you're looking for a new chassis, they build the Aero chassis. They win a lot of races. Also, they'll service anything you have and anything you need for parts, safety equipment, you name it. They can get it to you. They can get it to you quickly. Get a hold of Trevor over at Dirt Track Supply. So, Bert, I wasn't sure if you were going to come on the show or not. I wasn't sure. I figured you might be in mourning a little bit. I wasn't really positive. This is a racing show, so we won't spend a lot of time on football. I'm just making sure as a friend, are you okay?
I am fine. I am a Packers fan. I get disappointed when they lose, and I get more disappointed when they lose the way they lost. Just too many mistakes, but I don't go to the extreme where I let it ruin my life. So if they lose, so I am doing fine.
That high-powered offense from the Packers lost a game in which the San Francisco 49ers didn't even score an offensive touchdown. That's not good. So Aaron Rodgers cannot blame the defense for this one, right? But no, just a little tidbit. Go ahead.
The defense definitely played well enough to win. And, the offense did score. Well, they just rolled that first drive, scored a touchdown. I thought, whoa, this game's not even going to, this is going to be pretty good. And they were rolling the second drive until the fumble. And then after the fumble, then the offense just going to do anything. And the special teams has been bad all year. And that came to roost in this game.
Right. Little bit of more NFL news before we get into the racing. I don't know if you saw this, right? But the NFL announced, and this ties in with race fans. So if you're a racer, you're going, this ain't an NFL show. This ties in with racing because I think most of us feel the same way. Did you see they announced they're not doing any more testing for COVID on unvaccinated players through the entirety of the playoffs?
I did see that. And I think they can say whatever they want, but I think we all know why.
Say this is about money without saying this is about money. I'm just saying. Right. I'm just saying. I'm not, and I know a lot of people have been affected by COVID, right? Lost loved ones. So I'm not saying it's not real, but I'm here to tell you. You can't go to Minneapolis, not that you'd want to anyway, but you can't go there without having a mask on, vaccination to get into restaurants. But they're not even testing. That just tells you right now the world we live in. It's an absolute train wreck right now. But now we'll get to the good stuff. Let's talk racing. Let's enough football. Let's talk racing. We're back into full swing here. And of course, let's talk a little bit about a blast from the past brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. If you're self-employed, if you're a farmer, if you any of the above, if you pay for your own health insurance, give me a call, shoot me a message on Facebook, whatever. I can get you a free quote. Literally been cutting it in half for a lot of people that have to pay for their own health care. It's been a great product. You can go to any doctor. So race fans, if you want to travel all over, you get sick anywhere, you don't have to be a network or anything. But Impact Health Sharing, check us out. It's been a great product for a lot of people. So number 113, that's the episode we're in. I got to be honest, Bert, I don't have a 113. Did you have a 113?
I don't have a 113 either.
So race fans, if you have a 113, right, put it in the comments, put a picture, share a story, because I don't have a 113. I simply do not. I do have some 13s, but Bert, let's go ahead and start with you. Who do you got for number 13, a little blast from the past?
I have Gene Moss. He is probably best known in Eastern Wisconsin for racing in the hobby stock division at China Speedway. But he did dabble in late model racing for one or 2 years. I do believe that he raced a used MJ McBride chassis when he was racing in the late model division. So that's my number 13 that I have.
Well, there you go. So look, any tie, if he has any ties yet to racing? Is he still involved? Is he still around?
He doesn't race anymore. I don't know if he still does, but at one point he would sponsor some drivers. He has a flooring business, Gene Moss Flooring, and I'm not sure if he sponsors any drivers anymore, but he did at one time after he stopped driving himself.
Now, the first person I'm going to mention, number 13, is, in my opinion, the most legendary late model driver from the state of Minnesota. You got nothing. I stumped you. See, last week we getting them all right. This week stumped you. Okay, so he won the Labor Day Shootout, I believe, in 1981. Passed Tom Nesbitt to do it. Got a little video clip of it up. He ran the old Mach 1, and he changed his number in a couple of years later to 4F.
That's more familiar, but I can't think of.
That's a fail. I'm awfully disappointed. That you're on the other side of the world. Jeff Hinklemeyer. Jeff Hinklemeyer was unbelievably fast in the early 80s, and Puka always says he was Joe Cool before Joe Cool was Joe Cool, right? He kind of had that it factor, that charisma, and just the fans loved him. He drove up from St. Cloud, and he raced in Superior, Hibbing, Proctor, and then he'd make trips up to the Riverview Raceway in Thunder Bay every Wednesday, and that dude flat out won a lot of races. Growing up on the Iron Range up in Chisholm, going to the Hibbing Raceway, that 13 would pull in, and you'd be like, yeah, it's over. There ain't nobody going to beat him. He was absolutely my favorite driver as a late model for many, many years. Then he switched to 4F. Then he started racing more, a little closer to home, Alexandria and stuff, switched over to NASCAR and some of the different sanctions, but Jeff Hinklemeyer was absolutely the man. Now, another 13 late model, and we talked about this before the show. You don't know anything about this guy, Roger Paulo. He's a guy that has been racing at the Hibbing Raceway since before I raced, and I started in 90. So he started in the 80s. He's still racing each and every Saturday night at the Hibbing Raceway, makes trips over to the Grand Rapids Speedway, been in a late model for years, does a lot of his own stuff, and just one of the nice guys in dirt track racing, been around the sport for a long time, kind of keeps to himself, but somebody that's been a fixture over at the Hibbing Raceway. Now, Bert, do you remember them winged modifieds? You probably saw pictures of them on the 2020 Racing History page. Mm-hmm. So a guy from Duluth, and you wouldn't know this guy at all, and I don't know much about him, but I remember he was one of the only northern cars that would make his way down to the Cedar Lake Speedway, throw a wing on top of his spoiler. And I don't remember the sponsor. It'll be in the pictures, but I remember there being like dog bones or crossbones or some kind of thing on the side of his car. But Johnny Russo, he ran a blue number 13 with a wing on top, and don't know much about the guy, but he was always the guy that I watched, because if Hibbing rained out, we'd go to Cedar Lake and it'd be like, well, let's cheer for a northern car. Well, he's the only one out there, and it was pretty tough to beat Ron Jones, Rick Eggersdorf, Mike Kelly. I mean, all them guys were tough to beat, but this is a guy that he won some races. And, if somebody has a story about him, post it in the comments, because we'd love to hear it. Speaking of the Kelly name, super stock driver and transition. I don't know if I think he's running a B mod now, but Sean Kelly. Now, do you remember the name Mike Kelly? Do you remember that? It's all the family. Mike Kelly Sr. built engines built them for Ron Jones back in the day. But Sean Kelly, one of my first memories at Cedar Lake from the 100 in the super stock, they used to have 11, 12 heats. There was over 100 super stocks, and the way they did it, there was no passing points or anything like that, right? It was a top two went to the